everyone, I am Hannah Ducao, and today I'll be reporting about a trematode parasite named Schistosoma japonicum. But before I would delve to this topic, let me first give you a brief introduction about the trematodes. So, for the taxonomy of the trematodes, this actually belongs to the kingdom of Animalia. So, same with cestodes, they belong to the phylum of Platyhelminths, which are flatworms, and from the class of Trematoda, which are flukes. So, here are the important species of the trematodes. So, they are actually flatworms that are parasitic that invade our blood vessels, the gastrointestinal tract, liver, and the lungs. So, they are actually categorized they're actually categorized and named after which organ or organ system they invade. So we have the Schistosoma japonicum or the Schistosoma species as the blood flukes, the Paragonimus westermani and the related species are the lung flukes, the Fasciolopsis buski and Heterophyll flukes are the intestinal flukes, and the Clonorchis sinensis, the Fasciola hepatica and Opistorchis species are the liver flukes. So for the general characteristic of these trematodes, so they are like flat and unsegmented worms. They are leaf-like organism and they have two suckers. So for sucker, we have the oral sucker. They are responsible for the nourishment. And the ventral sucker naman is for the attachment to the host. So the same with cestodes, they have teguments. So their teguments is actually a musculotegumental. So then, as observed in the structure, they have an incomplete digestive tract and excretory system, and the reproductive organs are the ones that occupy most of the body. Sa eggs naman is that they have a ovoid shape and the contents of it are ovum, vitelline cells, or miracidium. So the other general characteristics of this parasite is that they are all hermaphroditic. They have a very complicated life cycle because they undergo different stages and they require two intermediate hosts before reaching the final host. Then the eggs are operculated and the infective stage are mesocercariae. But there is an exception. So there is exception for the Schistosoma species because the Schistosoma species are not hermaphroditic. They are dioicous because they had different sexes. They had a male and a female sex. And they do not require two intermediate hosts. They actually need a one intermediate host. And the eggs are not operculated. And the infective stage to our humans is a cercariae. So back to our main topic, which is the Schistosoma japonicum. So for the introduction of this parasite, its common name is blood flukes, oriental blood flukes. So it is called oriental blood flukes because from the word oriental, it can be found in Asia, particularly in East Asia, and blood flukes because this parasite actually resides in our blood vessels or mesenteric venules, and they also use blood as their source of nourishment. Then the Schistosoma japonicum are parasitic blood flukes that causes schistosomiasis japonica or intestinal schistosomiasis. So this parasite actually is zoonotic in nature, meaning that they do not only infect humans, but they also infect other wide range of mammalia hosts. That includes cats, dogs, pigs, and some other sources. They possible na pwede siya mag-infect sa horses, birds, and more. So, for the brief history of the parasite, so this was first described in Japan. It was Fujiro Katsudara who first described this one, wherein he used schistosoma eggs, gipain niya sa cats, and after months, he vivisected the cat and was able to obtain a adult stage of the cat and was described in 1904. So, but even before centuries, there have been evidences that show that the parasite is already present. So, that was when schistosoma eggs was actually identified in the female corpse that came from the Western Han Dynasty. That was 2,000 years ago. And ang first Chinese case na na-diagnose was in 1905, which reported by Lu Gan. And in the Philippines, or locally, it was in 1906, which is reported by Wu Lei. So, as of today, the parasite is actually endemic in China, Philippines, Indonesia, and some parts of Southeast Asia. So, the schistosomiasis or bilharziasis cause significant morbidity and mortality. So actually, according to CDC, it is the second leading or devastating parasitic disease. So how does it become second leading parasitic disease? Because it affects about 200 million people worldwide, especially people living in tropical and subtropical regions, particularly in rural areas. So it actually caused about 280 million people annually to die due to schistosomiasis related na complications. And aside from that case, it also become second leading parasitic disease because this schistosomiasis was listed as a neglected disease. So, meaning that this disease, kahit na mataas na yung cases niya, the government is actually not given much attention to the disease because hindi siya for the reason na wala silang pake for the disease. It's just that there are other disease that our health sector focus on. So, like for example, the malaria, the HIV, tuberculosis, and other cases. So that's why the disease have increased number of people getting affected, leading to being second as the parasitic disease. So also next is that there are actually 5 identified na schistosoma species that infect humans. So we have the Schistosoma japonicum, Schistosoma manzanae, Schistosoma haematobium, Schistosoma menkoji, Schistosoma intercalatum. So but among these 5, actually, the first 3, the Schistosoma japonicum, manzanae, and haematobium, are the most common that infect humans. So, among naman sa tatlo is that the Schistosoma japonicum is the most virulent and it's the smallest among the 3. So, how does it become most virulent? Because this parasite actually releases or lays 2,000 eggs per day, but actually in some articles, the maximum egg that it can release is 3,000 eggs per day. So, unlike the 2 species na schistosoma, the average na ma-release nila na egg per day is actually limited lang siya hanggang 300. Then, also, aside from that, is that the Schistosoma japonicum is actually zoonotic in nature. So, for example, that even if ma-stop natin yung isang host, possible pa rin that the Schistosoma can infect other mammalian hosts because it doesn't only infect humans but as well as other hosts, and the reason of that is possible na ma-continue pa rin yung transmission. Then our schistosome species as well are very host specific. So the intermediate host of our schistosoma is the Oncomelania hupensis quadrasi.